Hello, have you been wondering why ZEE WORLD is doing so well in Africa and most especially in Nigeria? Have you been wondering why most of their series are keeping our men and women at home most of the times? Have you been wondering why Nigerian men and women enjoy the contents in ZEE WORLD? Have you been able to compare it in recent times between what Nigerian movies are doing and what ZEE WORLD are actually doing? Now, I try to look at it in-depthly, and I try to look at it from the point of view of a filmmaker who also understands that when you begin to lose your audience, you have to study what your audience are doing and what your competitor rather are doing so that you can correct your mistakes. And that is why I did this video. I want to let you understand what I've seen that ZEE WORLD has used to actually lure our audiences away from Nigerian movies, and then they are focusing more on ZEE WORLD movies and series. But before I go on, please do me a favor, subscribe to this channel so that you get this kind of content and more of it. And please also, if at the end of it all, if you enjoy this video, please leave a comment below. I want to see your comment. I want to know what you think about this particular comment, about particular video. Please make sure you leave a comment below. Now, before I start, just take a look at this. Okay, so does this look different from what we do? Okay, if it does look different from what we do, probably because they are Indians speaking like Indians, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is the number one secret behind the success of ZEE WORLD, and I can tell you that for free, is story, story, story. Why do I think that ZEE WORLD is using what we used to do before now against us? And that is why they are getting more and more of our audience moving from Nigerian movies to enjoying ZEE WORLD movies. I'm using ZEE WORLD movies to represent the entire Indian film industry, because in Africa, most especially in Nigeria, the ZEE WORLD happens to be one channel where they have a lot of Indian series and Indian stories. Now, why do I think that the story that they are using is quite different? Most of their stories are built around family. Oh yes, their primary target is an African community and that of theirs. Now, let me let something out for you. Every single movie that has ever recorded success is built around family. Think about the Star Wars. Think about wedding party, even our own wedding party. Think about Romeo and Juliet. Think about even the current trending movie, Money Heist. Think about it. It is always about family. And let me be honest with you. Family must not necessarily mean your father, mother, and children. No, it must not necessarily mean that. Family could mean group of young men. It could mean group of friends. It could mean old schoolmates. It could mean anything at all that has to do with love and gathering. Family does not necessarily mean father, mother, children, extended family, no. But when you build story around families, now you can understand what I mean by family. That it could be group of friends, it could be the family traditionally as we know them, or it could be group of young ladies who have one common goal, or group of saviors like we have in Star Wars and other science fiction. What matters is if you have been able to successfully build your story around family, you are going to enjoy more and more patronage, because regardless of what we think, family is still the best unit that every human being can connect to. So when you see people loving a story, it's usually because there is a connection between them and what is being told. Look at all the successful Hollywood movies. You will know that they are actually built around families. Look at all the successful Nollywood movies, all the successful Indian movies. all of them are built around family. So when you're constructing your story, here's what you're going to do. Find a way to center your story around a family. Find a story that is unique enough, that tells you either the history, either the emotional journey, that explores either the emotional journey, the history, or whatever aspect. Even if it is a group of people trying to save the world, or a group of people trying to destroy the world, or a group of people trying to steal from the government like money heist, whatever you do, it has to be centered on family. And that is one thing that ZEE World has successfully done. They try as much as possible to center all their series around families, and then you can begin to identify with some of these family members. In every part of that family, there is the good, there is the bad, there is the ugly, there are the saviors, there are the destroyers, and they build it around you. So you can now see yourself within the story as it progresses. You will begin to identify emotionally with some of the characters. You will begin to love some and hate some. That is also what my mentor, like I always say, Tyler Perry of Atlanta in US, has been able to also utilize. He tried to build his story around family, and each time you build it around family, there's no way you're not going to see yourself in it. Here's the secret. You're going to see yourself in it, you're going to see your elder brother in it, you're going to see your younger brother in it, you're going to see your elder sister, your younger sister, all the people around you in your immediate family. You begin to identify some of their characteristics with these stories. So it's no longer just going to be about you enjoying it. You're trying to think of it as a family. And then before you know it, because most of the films that they show in ZEE World, or most of the content that they show in ZEE World rather, are done in series. As the story progresses, you will begin to see yourself more and more, and then you begin to emotionally attach to it, because it is telling the story of family. So if we want to take back our audience from ZEE World, we must, as Nollywood filmmakers, begin to think about making stories that impact as a family, building stories around families. Like I said, it must not be the immediate family of father, mother, children. It could be extended families, it could be group of friends, but they have to have a common goal. And within them, you begin to explore the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that is the number one secret that ZEE World has used to take away majority of our audience. And now when you move into different homes and families, you find more people watching that channel rather than watching African Magic or other channels that show Nigerian movies. And we are in Nigeria and Africa. The number two secret is keeping the loved characters longer. Okay, there is this wave in Nigerian movies and Nigerian storytelling, and in fact some of the stories that I've seen in recent time, that we're always in a hurry. Okay, because you want to create suspense, because you want to do the different, you want to be different. The next thing is people begin to love characters, and then the next thing, boom, you take that character away. No, look at what happens even in the, I will also use Money Heist as an example. In episode 4, before they took away Nairobi, a lot of people fell in love with Nairobi. But here is the secret: they kept her from episode 1 to from season 1, 2, 3, 4 before they took her out. And you could see the emotional baggage that most of us who love Money Heist carry. That same thing is what ZEE World is taking advantage of. When they develop a character in each of their series, and they discover that the audience are loving that character, they tend to keep that character longer, because the more attached you are to a character that you love, the more and more they're able to keep the series running. The moment people begin to lose interest in all the characters, that's when the series begin to fail. So the question we now ask ourselves is, most of our characters that we develop in our own scripts, how much or how many of them do people love? How many of them can people identify with? How many of them can people even remember? Remember in the olden days of movie making in Nigeria, you find out that most of the time when you finish watching a Nigerian movie, you find out that you will remember the names of the characters, not even the names of the actors that played it. And so, for instance, Nkemowo is now today being known as Osofia. Many people don't even know his name. John Okafor today is known as Mr. Ibu. Many people do not even know that Mr. Ibu is John Okafor. So many people tend to fall in love with characters and remain with that character even when that character has ended a show. So what ZEE World is doing as one of their secrets that we're not doing is that they are exploring and exploiting our emotions by keeping the characters that we love longer. In fact, I could remember in one of those their series, I was attached to one of their series for a long period of time because of one character. Now, when I loved that character, or when I started developing interest in that character, it was just like, okay, I don't like this, and then I come home and I see my fiance then watching ZEE World, and I'll be like, I don't like to watch it. And she said, just sit down, and I will sit down. And then I watch the first episode, and then the second, and then the third, and then before you know it, I started getting attached to that particular character. And before you know it, I want to come home to see that particular series because I want to know what is going to happen to that character next. So you must create characters that people love. You must create characters around, and the good thing is you don't have to build it out of this world. Just give them the little things that ordinarily you feel. Make them feel like human beings will feel. So if Nollywood or all the filmmakers as we are in Nigeria are interested in getting back our audience who are already loving the ZEE World and what have you, we must begin to develop stories and build characters, give characters depth, so much so that people will fall in love with that character and remain with that character for long. What is my number 3 secret? Number 3 is take care of your sound and light. Listen, it's just more of technical than what you may call it. Invest as much as possible to make sure that your sound is clean. People don't want to be disturbed or hear different other sounds when they are watching your movies, and then it's going up and down and up and down. It makes people get bored easily. Just take a look at what happens in ZEE World. They make sure that their sound is good, and most times even though that their lighting is primary, because what they do is just to light up the whole area. Studio lighting, they put up light everywhere and everywhere is bright and they're shooting. But it is better that you do that and kill the shadows than you use shadows that are not necessary. Most times you see a lot of shadows in our film that you are not using to tell a story. So our technical department also needs to be improved upon. Alright? We need to improve upon our technical department because people are enjoying the creamy pictures that ZEE World gave. They're enjoying the light, they're enjoying the sound. Everything seems to be good. Even when it is unrealistic, most of the things that they say or do, majorly unrealistic. I could say from my experience in filmmaking, they have a very poor finishing touch. But what do? What they do is that they make sure that the sound and the picture are good. So if we want to get back our audience, let's make sure that we start taking care of our sound and audio. Number 4, know the audience or the market you are serving and make sure you give them what they want. You see, sometimes we want to imitate Hollywood. We cannot be more Hollywood than the Hollywood guys. You cannot be more Pope than the Catholic. You cannot be more Catholic Church than the Pope himself. You can't be more Catholic than the Pope. So what do? We need to go back to our basics. We need to start understanding that first and foremost, the Nollywood primary audience is Africa, Nigeria, before you even talk about the rest of the world. Yes, I know that the technology has broken down almost all barriers, and then this is now a global community. But you have to, when you finish making a food in your house, maybe the food is for a party or anything, and you're a caterer or whatever you are, and maybe you're cooking for a large people. When you finish making food, what do you do first? Your immediate family has to test it. And if they don't like it, you think that the rest of the people you're making the food for will like it? No. So if you are interested in building, if we as a whole, as filmmakers in Africa, are interested in retrieving back our audience that already ZEE World are taking over, then we must have to start looking at the market we have. What are the things that appeal to them? I've always told people, you could make movies that you love, but that means you alone will enjoy it. But you have to make movies that people love, and the only way to make movies that people love that will also reflect your personality is to infuse your personality in making those movies. There's no need making movies that you're not going to have audience in it. In fact, the audience should be the first and main and the only judge to your movie, regardless. So one of the secrets that ZEE World has used to exploit at the same time taking over the African and Nigerian audience is making movies that Nigerian audiences and that of the African audiences love. The moment Nigerians begin to see their storyline, they fell in love with it. It's not necessarily about the acting or technicalities, no. It's majorly about the love for the story that they tell. So, if you discover your audience, make sure that you make more movies that will help your audience love you the more. Take for instance again Tyler Perry. When he discovered his and was able to carve a niche for himself, he discovered a particular audience in America. He started making movies for them, the black community, and not just the black community. He focused more on black women. And of course, these women love the stories. And now he has become an international figure, an international phenomenon. And people are loving his work across the world because he's using the stories of black women and black people in America to explore a lot of things that people neglect. So you could see values, you could see moral, you could see those areas that influence his philosophy. He reflects this in his movies. So when you have done number 1 to number 4 that I have shared with you, the number 5 is to repeat. You keep on repeating and repeating and repeating until you become successful. So that's another secret that ZEE World has used to actually explore the African and the Nigerian audiences. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you do leave a comment on the comment section below, and please give me a thumbs up if you love the video. If you don't, please let me know why you don't like it, and please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you get more of this kind of content and even more educational and entertaining content as we progress. Please make sure you subscribe, all right? Please, and follow me up across all my social media. Look at the comment section. I'm going to list all my social media where I am, and so that you can connect with me. Thank you very much for watching. Please, before I go, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload a new video, because I do that often in a week. In fact, throughout the week, I do upload one new video every day, so you get to get more content. Thank you very much for watching. I love you. Stay cool.